Once a senator, always a senator. That is tonight's lesson in American politics. After a day of commentators bewildered and wondering why Republican Senators John Cornyn and Thom Tillis, in their last months as United States senators, are caving to Donald Trump after pretending that they would not vote for Todd Blanche's confirmation as Attorney General unless the Trump slush fund created by Todd Blanche, along with a tax amnesty for Donald Trump and his family, were eliminated in writing that somehow would carry the force of law. The standoff ended at 11:09 p.m. last night when Todd Blanche posted on social media copies of two new pieces of paper, one signed by Todd Blanche and another signed by absolutely no one. Neither of these pieces of paper have any force of law and are in no way binding on Todd Blanche or anyone else involved in the scheme. The two pieces of paper that Todd Blanche produced publicly do not prevent Todd Blanche from simply reinstituting everything about the slush fund in its entirety after he is confirmed as Attorney General. And this morning, right on schedule, Senators Cornyn and Tillis issued a joint statement saying they're completely satisfied with the unenforceable pieces of paper that Todd Blanche released. And now they are happily ready to vote for Todd Blanche to serve as Attorney General, saying, quote, "We look forward to voting to advance his nomination out of the Senate Judiciary Committee soon." And with that written statement and their complete public surrender to Donald Trump after Donald Trump attacked them both this weekend on social media, Senator Cornyn and Senator Tillis have both preserved their futures as Washington lobbyists. Sadly, in the 21st century, the most common post-Senate occupation for former United States senators is Washington lobbyist. It wasn't always this way. The lobbying afterlife of senators started in the 20th century. When the senator I worked for, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, retired from the Senate in January of 2001, the day Hillary Clinton took the oath of office to serve in his place in the Senate, Senator Moynihan went back to his previous life in academia. He was a Harvard professor when he ran for Senate and won in 1976. And after the Senate, he joined the faculty of Syracuse University. That was already a rare choice by that time in our politics, when former senators have become worth millions upon millions of dollars as lobbyists in Washington. Senators have lifetime floor privileges. That means that a United States senator, after leaving office, for the rest of his or her life, can just walk onto the Senate floor with all of the freedom of a serving United States senator. No mere lobbyist who was not a senator is even allowed to ride in the senators' only elevators in the Senate buildings. With the hordes of lobbyists in Washington trying to get appointments with senators, it helps a lot when the lobbyist used to sit beside that senator in committee hearings or on the Senate floor. Nothing helps more than that. That's what makes senators so valuable as lobbyists. Former senators are worth more money as lobbyists when their party is in power, of course, but they are worth zero money forever if they are shunned by their party. John Cornyn and Thom Tillis had a right to fear that if they voted against Donald Trump's former criminal defense lawyer becoming Donald Trump's attorney general, they might never be able to get an appointment in a Republican senator's office again, to lobby for anything, to ask for anything, including just getting their passports renewed quickly. John Cornyn and Thom Tillis might not become lobbyists, but they will still want or need some kind of favors at some time from Republican senators, including jobs for family and friends. And that is why you saw Thom Tillis being so timid in his language about this situation last week, so apologetic for even hinting at getting in the way. And I pointed out Thom Tillis's timidity last week, using that word about him here on this program when covering this standoff. I never once expressed the slightest confidence that John Cornyn or Thom Tillis would actually find the courage to vote against Todd Blanche's confirmation. And it doesn't take courage to vote against the acting attorney general who created a slush fund that you, Thom Tillis and John Cornyn, found to be unethical and improper. Just the creation of that slush fund and the tax amnesty for Donald Trump and his family, that's reason enough to vote against Todd Blanche. If you just base your vote on the common standards used for Senate confirmation for the lifetimes of those senators. Todd Blanche has many other transgressions in his time at the Trump Justice Department that require a vote against his confirmation, such as trying to prosecute former FBI Director James Comey for posting a photograph of seashells. Todd Blanche has many more disqualifying ethical strikes against him beyond just the slush fund and the tax amnesty for Donald Trump. So it doesn't take courage to vote against Todd Blanche. It takes common decency. There is absolutely no way a Republican nominee for Attorney General in the 20th century, with Todd Blanche's unethical record, could possibly have won support of Republicans in the United States Senate. That's the way it used to be. But Donald Trump has corrupted every single Republican senator to some degree. And Donald Trump has corrupted most Republican senators completely. Just completely bent them to his will on everything. The top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee, Congressman Jamie Raskin, who will be chairman of the House Judiciary Committee next year, where he will have jurisdiction over Todd Blanche and the Justice Department if the Democrats win control of the House of Representatives, issued a statement today saying that Todd Blanche has, in fact, left his, quote, corrupt scheme fully intact, including the unprecedented super pardon shielding the Trump family businesses from legal accountability for their efforts to bilk the tax system and profit from the presidency. Blanche has made clear that he is using his office as the country's chief law enforcement officer to create structural roadblocks to prevent the Trump family and their businesses from ever being held accountable for any of their corruption or lawlessness, including a torrent of suspiciously timed stock trades, shady no-bid government contracts handed to companies the Trump family is invested in, or even allegations of sexual assault by Trump revealed in the Epstein files. MS Now's Jake Traylor asked Donald Trump today about the deal that preserves Donald Trump's tax amnesty and wins him a Senate-confirmed attorney general.
Mr. President, did you sign off on Todd Blanche rescinding the anti-weaponization fund? And also, there are Democrats right now who say there's essentially two tax codes. There's the Trump family tax code and a normal people tax code. Why do you think that your family deserves some level of special exemption when it comes to the auditing of taxes?
Well, I'll go into that. First of all, I had a 10-year case that was settled until I announced I was running for office. It was a settled deal like I've been doing all my life. I've been audited every year for my entire life, which I have a lot of wealthy friends who were never audited. To this day, they were never audited. I was audited. And my deal was settled. In writing, it was settled, subject to final approval. Then I announced I was running for president, and all they did was haunt me with it. They ended the settlement, and they went after me illegally.
He's lying about a lot there. First of all, it's worth noting that every president prior to Donald Trump automatically had their tax returns audited while they were serving as president of the United States. That became standard procedure for the IRS. Donald Trump was never investigated illegally in a tax audit, as he claimed. Donald Trump claimed that he was the subject of a tax audit before he even began running for president in 2015. He told us that in 2015. Before he started his campaign. He couldn't release his tax returns because he was being audited. Never mind that every previous president had released their tax returns even when they were being audited by the IRS. That audit is one of the audits that we know had been going on for a significant amount of time due to the complexity of Donald Trump's tax returns before he became a political candidate. Donald Trump rambled on without answering the question, did you sign off on the deal? And so I am proud to say MS Now's Jake Traylor did what a White House correspondent is supposed to do. He asked the question again.
Mr. President, did you sign off on Todd Blanche rescinding?
I didn't look at it. All I know is that Todd Blanche is great. He's going to do a great job. Everybody knows it. And I understand there's been a sign-off. But I don't know what they agreed. I think Todd Blanche agreed to reconfirm things that he's already said. And what he said was okay. Please go ahead.
Avenues that you have, other avenues you have supporters get paid potentially if it's not the anti-weaponization fund? Is there another?
Who are you with?
I'm with MS Now, sir.
You who?
MS Now.
MS Now?
Yes, sir.
What a terrible show that is. They have the worst people on that show.
Are there other avenues that you want to see people?
No, there's no other avenues that I know about. Go ahead.
And then Donald Trump got the subject change he was hoping for from another reporter who asked him about the Strait of Hormuz, to which Donald Trump hallucinated about the possibility of the United States of America charging a fee for ships to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, something that could never be done and will never be done. And oh, by the way, would be a crime against international law and laws of the seas. And there's only one person in the world who could even say something as insane as that out loud, and that is the pathological liar sitting in the Oval Office today who claimed he didn't know anything about the deal that gives him and his family tax amnesty and that he could painfully discover is unenforceable if the next Attorney General of the United States is chosen by a Democratic president in 2029.